Hello, and welcome to another edition of Who's the Savage Now? Who's the Savage Now? Good question. I'm MC, your host, for this latest edition of my YouTube channel, Who's the Savage Now? Covering everything from handcrafted animal rights advocacy to local pedestrian safety and everything in between. Vegan cuisine, music, handcrafted music. We got it right here. We got it. To, what else do we do? On air. We cover on-air malfeasance at our local public radio stations. Yes, we do. And we bring it all live and direct from the poor man's beachfront condo here on the edge of a continent, right on the edge, in an previously undisclosed seaside city, not far from the megapolis known as Los Angeles, California. Exhibit A for humanity gone wrong, indeed. So sit back, relax, walk the dog, feed the cat, and get ready for some hard-hitting commentary from yours truly, MZ. Thanks for being a part of the show. We appreciate it. Stay tuned for more. Greetings, everybody. MZ back with you for another edition of Who's the Savage Now, my YouTube channel committed to handcrafted animal rights advocacy, vegan cuisine, music, local pedestrian safety, and exposing on-air malfeasance at my local public radio stations like KCRW and kpfk.org. Currently, I'm on kpfk.org. I looked at their Twitter page yesterday. I can't figure out Twitter. I don't know what happens on Twitter. Tweets and reply. I don't know what goes on there. I barely know how to work it. I don't know what's going on there. I know how to send out tweets, that's it. But I don't know where they end up exactly. But I looked at KPFK's Twitter page, and it looks like my Twitter page. It looks like my tweets page. You know, when I go check out my tweets, you can hit tweets and replies, and then you can see all your tweets right there. And that's what KPFK's Twitter page looked like my... I don't know how I feel about that. I just thought it was funny. I thought somebody, I don't know why that is. Somebody must like what I'm saying. Somebody must agree with what I'm saying if they're up there. And I feel that there's a big division at the station, again, between the paid and unpaid staff. I think they talked about that at the LSB debates. There's this big rift between paid and unpaid. And I think there's a band of people at the station that are like real hardcore community radio people and like really want to do real community radio, but people like Ian Masters and Jerry Quickly and Greg Palast have their boot right on the neck of the station and won't let anything else go out. And I've had a realization about Roy of Hollywood also. He brought me into KPFK 20 years ago, 17 and 3/4 years ago. Late at night, listening to just the wild stuff that he plays, and I became a big Alan Watts fan and a big Gary Null fan, and I still trust Alan. I still believe Alan Watts. Gary Null, however, because he had on the smoking gun for Gary Null. He had on Greg Palast on his show last April. I found a video. And anybody that supports and endorses and promotes that guy is suspect to me. If they're not smart enough to know that he is a fraud, a straight up fraud, straight up. And I hope to prove that again today by part 2 of the LilaGarret train wreck. Connect the train wreck. Connect the talking points. Connect the Dots is her name of her show. 7 a.m. on Monday mornings. She had Greg back on. Back on. He's been on many shows. He was on with Lafferty. What's the guy's name? Lawyers Guild. He was on that show recently. He comes on for fundraising. He comes on when they're asking for money. He comes on as the money man. He comes on as the barker. Yeah, can we get Greg? Can we get Greg in March? We're going to do a fundraiser. Can Greg stop by? He can sell his merch. He can sell all the merch that he wants. The same freaking books from the turn of the millennium, 2002. So, what was I saying? I want to continue this video. The name of this video is going to be BBC reporter Greg Palast channels Hugo Chavez from the grave. Hugo Chavez wants to thank Pacifica Network. Something like that. Something like that. Also, the LSB meeting that was supposed to be this Sunday, March 17th at the Peace Center in Culver City was postponed all of a sudden, out of the blue. Somebody from Grassroots Community Radio, Michael Novick, sent me a notice. I'm on their email list. He sent me a notice that the meeting would be pushed back to March 31st. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I hope it has I suspect and hope that it has something to do with my videos about Greg and just the sheer fraud that he is. And there's a gang of people that are in on it with him too, at the station, at all of these places. All of these, you mean all of these people are so stupid they can't see through a fraud and a phony like Greg Palast? All of these smart, intelligent people are so stupid. They have, because that's what they have to be. They have to be so stupid they can't see through a phony like Greg Palast that I'm seeing through right now, and by exposing him in these videos. It's so easy. It's so easy. Greg is. It's not hard at all. It's so easy when he says some of the things he says. What else? I pray and hope that other media outlets will get a look at these videos, get a look at my evidence, and put a reporter on this story at kpfk.org. Something is wrong. Houston, we have a problem. We have a problem, okay? We have a problem at KPFK, a serious problem, and it has to be looked into. About Roy of Hollywood, my realization about Roy of Hollywood was that here's a guy, again, I'm a fan of Roy. I don't listen to him much anymore currently. I've heard everything Alan Watts has ever recorded. I've heard every recording Alan Watts has multiple times. Everything Roy plays, I've heard, okay? So, and that's another thing. I tease KPFK with like it's radio powered by the replay, but it's it's becoming true. The Fun Drive replays, Greg Palast is a replay, right? His book and movie, it's the same. It's for 20 years, that's a replay. Alan Watts is a replay, and then 24 hours a week, Roy's show. From midnight to 5:30 or 6, I'm not sure, but if it's to 6, that's 6 hours a day, 4 days a week. 6 times 4 is 24, right? That's 24 hours a week programming hours for one guy, one dude, one strange-looking bearded white dude. And I'm a fan of Roy, but I'm just calling it like it is. 26 programming hours per week, 52 weeks a year, for one guy at a community listener-sponsored radio station. Just ask yourself that question. Is it fair for one guy to be stepping on that much airtime all by himself? I mean, when you got people camped out under freeways, Okay, you got people, you got little cities, you got little homeless encampments on Hampton Street outside of Google's offices down in Venice. You got people permanently camping there, right across the street from the multi-billionaire, the millionaire, there's the bandits, billionaire bandits. You got people, one guy playing replays from the 60s and 50s and 70s, just all these esoteric replays from 50 years ago, man. You gotta be kidding me, right? Not a word. Have you heard a homeless story on KPFK recently? I hear them all the time on KCRW. They're really good about it. They're on that fucking story because it's a daily story in LA. It's not going away anytime soon. But there's no money in that. There's no money in that. That's why Greg doesn't cover it. He's not out there covering homelessness. He's out there covering the money, the Cokes, because they've got the money. And that's my theory. That he's getting up, he's somebody, a Coke-affiliated foundation organization cutout is cutting Greg a check in some strange, weird way. Check it out. Don't believe, double check everything Greg Palast says to you. He's a broken clock. He's right twice a day. But some of the other stuff is just, way off the res, man, way off the res. Can't be believed by a child. And we've all been duped. That's the name of my movie. If I was going to make a movie about this, it would be called Duped. Well, maybe I will. Maybe I should write a book about this, hey? Duped. That's what I feel like. My big moment was with Jason. I really had a mind-bending experience when I found out Jason Goodman was a fraud. That really bent my mind a little bit. And that cut deep, man. That cut deep. But now with KPFK, I'm not surprised at all. Especially with the Jerry Quickly 6-month lead into Greg Palast. Greg Palast walked into my office. He walked into my investigation on Jerry Quickly when he came on January 4th with Jerry. And tried to gaslight us about Jerry Quickly. So and I proved he was lying. It's all lies. And then Aniel Fields, that means Aniel was lying when he came on Conversation with listeners and said Jerry wasn't fired. And Jerry made a video saying he was fired. So Aniel's a liar. Kevin Fleming is a liar about the Jerry Quickly firing. And again, if they can't tell us the truth about the departure of a host at the station, what else can't they tell us the truth about? My answer, everything else. So back to Roy. There's just a lot of things that they aren't the station is not covering. And here's this guy, he's got 24 hours a week to do replays on a listener-sponsored community radio station. I mean, that should be looked into. We should ask some questions there about that. And we should be asking questions about replays. Why is KPFK playing replay after replay after replay after replay? There's no young, hungry programmers that want to get on the air and get people excited about listening to the station again. And then they spend how much money did they spend producing a video about Shepard Fairey? Are you kidding me? Who's doing who a favor here? They're running that Shepard Fairey is the second coming. They think Shepard Fairey is the second coming of Christ at KPFK. Meanwhile, there's not one. It mum's the word on homeless encampments in LA. But look at Shepard Fairey. He's great, and it's great. This great independent radio station. Yeah, send us some money and to keep this thing alive because we've got to keep it alive because it's a zombie. KPFK.org is a zombie. It's a zombie of a community radio station. There's not. It looks like from at first glance, it sort of looks like everything's right. But if you look into it, if you start listening to the station, man, you end up like me, sounding like a loon making videos, sounding like a conspiracy, UFO alien conspiracy. And AbbyMartin just made a video. Oh, Abby. Why did you do? Why, Abby? Why? I tweeted to the station, why don't you ever have Abby Martin on the station? And the next thing I know, she's making promos for the station, and she was on with Jim Lafferty on the Lawyers Guild recently. And then so I think someone's reading my tweets over there and responding to them. And thank you. But why wasn't she on the flagship show at KPFK is locally is Ian Masters' Background Briefing. Why wasn't she on that show, that 5-day-a-week show? You know, that daily show, that daily political show, the daily flagship political show at kpfk.org, Background Briefing. Why wasn't Ian Masters on that show? Oh, yeah, that's right. Ian doesn't interview real progressives, okay? But in Abby Martin's promo for the station, she says something revealing. She says, both me and this skinny white dude next to me, I forget his name. I cannot remember that dude's name. Dude, he looks like he's 12 years old or something. I can't remember his name. But he's doing good work with Abby Martin, so good for him. But Abby's like, oh, yeah, both this guy and me are longtime listeners and supporters of KPFK. Now, I want to hear her favorite show. Tell me one show you listen to, Abby Martin. Did you like This Is Happening from 4 to 5 p.m. in the later part of 2018? Did you catch any of those episodes or my videos about it, about KPFK and the loudmouth bully, Jerry Quickly? Did you happen to see any of that, Abby Martin? Nothing. No, she's just a longtime supporter. So I'm looking at Abby a little sideways now. Abby Martin. I'm like, no, not Abby too. But if she's supporting KPFK, and as I'm revealing, as I'm exposing KPFK for a fraud, a freak show of a fundraising fraud that it is, how can they make money selling movie tickets, selling tickets to seminars at the LAX Marriott Hotel for psychic readings and rock star marketing boot camps, and selling T-shirts? How can they make the hundreds of thousands of dollars required to run a radio station and to pay salaries and to pay electric bills and to pay rent? And how can they make enough money to do that? They can't. That's my hunch. Tell me what you think in the comments below. But that's my hunch. They can't. There's something else is going on there. Somebody else is funding this operation. And meanwhile, they're cruel and unusual punishment, just playing the same Christine Blasdale replays over and over and over. That's cruel and unusual punishment for a listener. I tune out often and immediately, and it seems like it's been going on forever, and nobody is coming on the station saying when it's going to freaking end. I haven't heard one host mention, in between promoting Shepherd Ferry, I haven't heard one host mention when this fund drive is going to be over, because they don't know. That nobody knows. There's no details at kpfk.org. There's nobody. We don't get any information. We're completely in the dark as listeners about what's going on over there. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I think it's sort of like disinformation is so explosive. It's sort of like that moment right after that I'm putting out in these videos right now. That's sort of like that moment right after Dad slaps Mom at the dinner table. Nobody knows what to say or do, okay? And everyone's looking for the door. Just watch over the next few months, weeks and months, days, weeks and months. See who heads out the door at KPFK. See who finds another line of work somewhere else. See who goes mum or stops talking or stops appearing at certain places. See who makes an exit from the station. See who makes an exit from the station. So there you go. That's the intro. Questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, confessions, compliments, and complaints can all be registered down below in the comment section. Haven't heard one story on homelessness in LA. The biggest problem in Los Angeles, California, one of the biggest daily visible problems in Los Angeles County and city for everybody that lives here. Everybody that lives here, visits here, knows how bad it is. But you wouldn't know that from listening to kpfk.org. Why is that? Also, why is it that you never hear other media outlets, radios, stations, newspapers, magazines, journalists, reporters mentioning KPFK as a reliable news source or as a source? Have you ever heard anyone say, or have said yourself, I know it's true because I heard it on KPFK? Just asking questions, folks. A lot of people been asking me stuffs. A lot of people been asking me. Just asking questions. I'm just trying to understand. Okay, so I'm going to try to do a little more work on this Lila Garrett, connect the talking points, connect the CIA talking points. Connect the dots. Connect the dots with Lila Garrett last Monday, March 11th, 7 a.m. She brought on Greg Palast as a journalist par excellence. Lila. Think again, Lila. She hasn't seen my work. She hasn't seen the investigative work of me, by me. She hasn't seen my par excellence work on YouTube, apparently. She hasn't seen my Greg Palast exposed videos yet. So, good for her. Good for her. What do they say? Ignorance is bliss. And you got to be real ignorant not to see through a phony and a fraud and a fake like Greg Palast, former BBC reporter. So I'm just going to pick it up here midway. There's going to be a little overlap. I'm going to try to slog through this. I'm going to try to get through this Greg Palast bullshit train on what it was on Monday. He's channeling HugoChavez from the grave to give a message to kpfk.org listeners. HugoChavez wants to thank the KPFK Pacifica Network for saving his life because Greg, and I was mentioning also that this is a frequent maneuver of internet news people. They insert, like Jason Goodman, they insert themselves into the news story. They become a part of the story themselves. So, and it happens on occasion, but you really have to watch for it. It's not professional. It's not professional. You should not be involved. You should not be a character in your own news narratives, news story. But Greg Palast doesn't have a problem with it. And again, just notice how many times he mentions a name and doesn't mention who the person is, doesn't give us any context, or mentions a person that he talked to but doesn't give us any name. Just mention how many times Greg Palast fails to provide details to his stories and his news and his commentary and his analysis. And notice also how all roads, all stories, all commentary from Greg Palast leads to his merchandise. Okay? At that Q&A in 2016 in NoHo, dude spent 27 and a half minutes talking about GregPalast.com, best democracy money can buy, bullets, billionaires, bandits, and billionaires and ballot bandits, the sequel to Best Democracy Money Can Buy, and his DVD movie. And then at the end, he finally mentions KPFK. It's like, it was a benefit for KPFK. So here we go.
People in Venezuela are people of color, and they finally got their Nelson Mandela to say, okay, this is our nation, this is our oil, and we're going to keep the oil money here and not send it off to Miami.
This is Monday, March 11th, just a few days ago, 2019. Greg's telling us this. I've known this, that he's not saying, this isn't news, what he's saying now. Everybody knows that the oil corporations go take over other people's country for their oil, for their resources. We know that. That's known on the left. So this is a replay. This is the Greg Palast replay, live replay. Like what live action role play, man. That's what Greg is. Greg's a LARPer extraordinaire. He is a LARPer extraordinaire. Oh, boy.
talking now about Chavez or Maduro?
Both, because here's why.
Lila's like, I don't know which one. Who are you talking about? Because Greg loses, me too.
It's the Chavez party, it's the Chavista government. Maduro was his vice president and continued on. Now, I knew Chavez well, I know Maduro. Maduro's no Chavez, I'm going to tell you right now. He doesn't have the same smarts, he doesn't understand the geopolitics here.
I know both of them. Both of them are personal friends or what? How do you know them, Greg? How do you know them? When you say something like that, normally you follow it up with, I've interviewed them, I've visited with them, I've worked with them, I've vacationed with them. He doesn't give us any of that. He just says, I know both of them. Well, how do you know them? People, there's aspects to knowing someone, right? You know somebody as a carpenter, you know somebody as something else, but are they friends, acquaintances, somebody you interviewed? When you say I know that person, you follow it up with some context. Greg doesn't give us any context because he's lying.
Well, because I'll tell you one thing, Chavez wouldn't be in this trouble because he was very good at knowing when to push and when to lay back. He actually stopped a second attempt to overthrow his government by the Bush administration because they were worried about an oil embargo by secretly passing to Bush a note. Chavez was president of OPEC, the oil cartel, and he said he would use his position as president of the oil cartel to veto any Arab oil embargo on the United States, and that saved him from being overthrown. He was kidnapped. By the way, the New York Times, when he was kidnapped, Hugo Chavez, in 2002, the New York Times ran the story, the big headline, which is repeated everywhere.
I checked this story out. It's true. Somebody named Juan Ferrer, New York Times. Yeah, that story checks out.
That Hugo Chavez had resigned. He knew how terrible he was. Just the same crap we did. He knew how unpopular and terrible he was and incompetent and corrupt, so he resigned. No, he didn't resign. I was in London and BBC.
Greg says, I was in London, BBC. I was in London, BBC. What? He doesn't put a verb there or something. Something needs to be put there. I was in London, BBC. BBC, London, BBC. What? He just says London, BBC. You notice that? Here's Greg. What was he saying? Oh yeah, BBC, London, BBC, London, BBC. I was working for the Guardian, London, BBC. Okay, maybe it makes sense to somebody. And then Lila's going to ask him about. He's going to put his name up there with Hugo Chavez. He's going to insert himself into the story, into history. Greg's going to rewrite history. Say imply he was a friend of Hugo Chavez, right? I knew Hugo Chavez. That's what he says, but he doesn't give us any context for how he knew him. But he's implying that he knew him on friendly terms, right? Not as an enemy, but like as a friend, right? I would hope that it would be as like an interview subject, but he never mentions interviews. He never mentions. Have you heard Greg Palast ever say, "Yeah, I know this guy. I interviewed him"? Have you ever heard Greg Palast say, "I interviewed somebody"? That's a problem for a New York Times best-selling investigative reporter. When they never tell you that they interviewed somebody, they just say, "I know him. He came to visit me in New York." Well, what'd you talk about? Well, I can't tell you. It wasn't news. It wasn't about the best democracy money can buy. I'll tell you that. I can tell you that much. We can guess that much. It wasn't about my books or my movie. Maybe it was. I don't know. And then Lila's gonna say, and then remember now they insert themselves into the story, and it's a news fundraising manipulation vortex, perception management fundraising vortex of a KPFK community radio station. This business model has to go, guys. This is not working. Reporters can't be promoters of a news outlet. Reporters can't and still retain their autonomy, their credibility, their objectivity, in reporting. Okay, they just can't. You can't do it. You can't be in bed with a state radio station and report on it. And why did neither Jimmy Dore nor Greg Palast once during their 90-minute interview on Jimmy Dore's wildly popular YouTube show, the Jimmy Dore Show, that just overtook Democracy Now! On YouTube in subscribers? Jimmy's ready to hit 500. I think he just hit 500,000 subscribers. Democracy Now! Is stuck at like 492 or 493 or something. So Jimmy Dore Show on YouTube is a media outlet, I think, at this point. But Greg, they never mentioned KPFK once during the 90-minute interview, and Greg doesn't mention Jimmy Dore's YouTube show anywhere on KPFK. Doesn't do it. That's weird, because you would say, oh yeah, I just saw Jimmy in the hall, or yeah, I was just on Jimmy Dore Show. Jimmy Dore's a host here. That's weird. Somebody doesn't want that information out, because you're supposed to give that information out as a journalist to retain your credibility, your believability. Okay? It's called full disclosure. You're supposed to say what news outlets and what reporters you're affiliated with. Jimmy Dore's a clown, comedian, yes, but he's doing hard-hitting news commentary on his YouTube channel show. His Friday at 5 p.m. comedy thing on KPFK is just a throwaway. It's a throwaway replay for him. Okay, he doesn't even have to come to the station for that, even though the station's right down the street from his house in Burbank, North Hollywood. I think they're right next to each other over there. So that it's all the fact that nobody would mention anything about Greg's appearance on Jimmy's show, YouTube show, and then nobody at KPFK would mention anything about that is suspicious on its face. Okay. Deeply, deeply disturbing, okay, and raises a lot of problems. I'm not worried. I'm concerned, okay? So let's see if we can get a little more of this. Now Lila's going to say, Greg, what does HugoChavez have to do with KPFK? How can we, let's tell a little story. Let's pump it up here. Let's get people excited to take out their wallets and send us some money.
I gotta tell you, if I told the BBC that my source was the U.S. State Department, I'd be fired on the spot. They say, we want the truth, not the U.S. State Department press release. And so that's why I want you to get this film.
That's why I want you to get this film. And he's implying, also he says, the BBC, I would have been fired. Did he say I would have or I would be? Did he say I would have or I would be? Implying that he still works there. If he said I would be, he's implying that he still works there, which he doesn't. I emailed him to verify that. And yes, they said yes. He produced a bunch of shows with the BBC or for the BBC, but they referred me to his website for all current Greg Palast content. So
now, since we're talking about HugoChavez, let's stop for a moment and tell our listeners about what HugoChavez has to do with our fund drive.
Okay,
because
this is how little Lila Garrett cares for her listeners. Her listeners. It's all about the listeners. Radio powered by the people, yeah. But this is how little she cares for her listeners, that she's going to bring on a phony and a fraud and a sham and a travesty of a mockery of reporter Greg Palast to tell you about HugoChavez and how does he relate to the station. And Greg's going to give you some BS story about how he called somebody up at KPFK and he gives us a name, but no job title. Was he a producer, a programmer, a janitor? What? He just gives us a name at KPFA. I called Danny over at KPFA, blah, blah, blah. He just, again, no details with Greg. Check it out.
Still helping us.
By the way, HugoChavez wants to thank the Pacifica Network because when I was in London, I called to the U.S. The only way I could get the word that...
That's wrong. That is wrong. Saying a dead man wants to thank the Pacifica Network? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's gross. That's creepy, man. That is weird. That is freaky. That should not come out over the airwaves like that. Somebody should not be putting HugoChavez's name. Someone should not be speaking for HugoChavez on the air asking for money. That's my opinion. Tell me what you think in the comment section below.
HugoChavez had not resigned but was kidnapped in a U.S.-sponsored coup d'etat. I was able to call Pacifica KPFA, Dennis Bernstein, and get the word out. And Chavez...
He was able to call Dennis Bernstein. Well, who's that? Is he the janitor, the night man, the night watchman, the security guard, the president, the station manager, the program director. There's a lot of people up there, Greg. Lots of people. Okay? No context. No context. No details.
That's one of the reasons he was still alive. So he thanks Pacifica. So Hugo and I have now made this premium possible. It's a DVD.
Hugo and I. Is that the name of his next book? It's unbelievable how he's inserting himself into history under the name of HugoChavez, under the umbrella of fundraising for a community radio station. That's wrong. That's wrong. There's something is wrong. Something is wrong with this picture. Let me know what you think. Uh-oh.
The Assassination of Hugo Chavez, a film I made for BBC Television, my investigative reports there on his kidnapping and the coup d'etat. You'll know everything you need about Venezuela today by watching that. And the DVD also has reports of mine on the Mexican elections, on the oil theft.
How long ago was that, Greg? How long ago was that? He doesn't give us a date. He doesn't say when he made that movie. Did you notice that? Journalists, the first thing you learn in journalism is who, what, why, where, when, how. All those things have to be in your reporting. Not with Greg, but he's a New York Times bestseller, man.
Chevron in Ecuador by calling this number, 818-985-5735. I'm going to give it to you again, 818-985-KPFK, and say, I want the Palast Chavez pack. It is not only the
I want a vomit bag because I'm getting ready to heave.
DVD, The Assassination of Hugo Chavez. It includes, as a bonus, the best democracy money could buy, the full-length feature with Rosario Dawson and Willie Nelson and me, Greg Palast.
There you go. It's the merger of celebrity with news collection and dissemination. Okay, Rosario Dawson, Willie Nelson, who's Joni Mitchell. They have Danny Glover. All these celebrities love to do promos for kpfk.org. I have no idea why. Jackson Brown, Jack Black, all these celebrities, AbbyMartin, love to do promos. Can't get it. I don't know why. Also, and claim that they're listeners to the station. Was that your favorite show, Abby? Was that your favorite show, 2018? Winter 2018? Did you catch any of that show? What about Background Briefing? Do you dig Ian? Do you dig that show? Do you dig Roy of Hollywood? AbbyMartin said she was a longtime listener and supporter of KPFK. What is she listening to on KPFK? Okay, Mitch Jesuits. He does good interviews. Jerry Quickly did good interviews. That's not enough. But Mitch Jesuits does good interviews, man. That's for reals. So maybe Abby likes Mitch. I don't know. But didn't Mitch have Greg Palast on? You know what I mean? Here we go.
If you call 818-985-5735, make a minimum donation of $100, and you get not just the Assassination of Hugo Chavez DVD, but you'll also get as a bonus, no extra,
no way. You're serious?
the best democracy money can buy, the case of the stolen election, and maybe we can get a clip if we beg.
You get all my merch. Yeah, not only that, but as a bonus, I'll throw in my movie from 2016 and my book from 20 years ago that I'm still plugging away at. And photo suppression's never going to end, but it gives us something to do. We can run around and make movies. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. $100, just $100, folks. Just $100. Just $100. You get all that? Are you sure? Really, Greg? Really? I can get all that for just $100? Wow. What a deal.
The electronic gods.
Maybe we can. I think they heard it.
Now here we go. Here's a replay of a replay. his movie from 2016. It's 3 years. It's 2019. It's March 2019. This movie was released, I think, off the Wikipedia page. It said 2016 in 2016, which meant it was filmed in 2015 or 2014. Could have been filmed in even earlier. So it could be 4 years old, this information. But he thinks that's all we need to know about Venezuela. His movie from years ago. Greg's favorite phrase when he refers to people telling presidents of South American countries telling him stuff. Years ago, Hugo Chavez told me, you know, if you're going to be a journalist, you got to tell people when and where and it happened, dude. It kind of matters. Context matters when you're a reporter. Greg didn't study, but maybe I'm being too hard on the guy. He didn't study journalism, so maybe he doesn't know this stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on him.
This is a dangerous enemy to our south, controlling a huge pool of oil that can hurt us very badly. We have the ability to take him out, and I think the time has come that we exercise that ability to get rid of one strong-arm dictator. It's a whole lot easier to have some of the covert operatives do this.
Again, this is all. Raise your hand if you didn't know this is what our government does. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you didn't know that's what our government does. Okay? If this is news to you, I would be glad. I'd be happy to hear about it and reply to a comment about it. But they don't. This is how little Lila Garrett cares for her listeners. She's going to do a replay with Greg from maybe 5 years ago. This information, it's dressed up. It's like a fact or fiction. The people that he made, the studio that helped him make the movie, the first question they asked him is what's real and what's not real. That's a problem for a journalist. That's a problem that's a credibility deficit.
Job is get it over with.
Why do they want to eliminate Hugo Chavez?
The United States wants to oust President Chavez from power because they want our oil.
That's great reporting right there, isn't it? No context. No. Well, I can't see it. It's a video. Okay, so maybe I'm being too harsh on Greg.
Hasn't given up. In Venezuela, even the bankers take to the streets.
There's whispers of another coup. The rich, outnumbered by the poor, have little faith in electoral democracy.
Why not wait for the next election to remove him?
Because it's too much time. We have been 3 years in jail, and we want to change the things. We can't wait until the new election.
They want a coup, not elections.
El acero de las espadas.
Chavez showed me the sword of Simón Bolívar, the man who liberated South America from Spanish imperialism.
Va a convertir en polvo cósmico. Es muy grande esta espada.
This sword is too big.
I'm picking up a Borat vibe here, or an Ali G vibe. I'm picking up a hardcore Ali G vibe here when he goes down to visit. I want to see this movie. I want to see. Somebody will send it to me. I'll analyze it, comment on it. Maybe it's on the YouTube. I'll check it. I'll look for it. I just don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch it. It's a waste of time. I know already it's going to be a waste of time. It's garbage. I know it's garbage because Greg's garbage. His word is garbage. His credibility is in the garbage can. With me. Again, when he walked into my office, January 4th, 2019, and sat in with Jerry Quickly to defend him and promote him and endorse him. Okay? That's how I know Greg Palast is a liar. A liar. That's my proof. Let me know what you think in the comments. Your questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, confessions, compliments, or complaints are all welcome.
To be used against the president.
Well, that was interesting. Now, in my introduction...
That was interesting. That's what I said about that message about the LSB meeting being postponed to the 31st from the 17th. That's interesting. That's interesting. She doesn't say it's great. She doesn't. It's just that's interesting. That's a weird comment from Lila. That's a weird thing to say. That's interesting. No, it's not interesting. It's garbage. It's 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old garbage.
We're very interested in the specifics about what's happening to Venezuela, but this is not the first time that we've seen the United States behave this way.
Right.
Now, I pointed out something that...
Excellent point, Lila. So this isn't news. This was, what he was reporting on was from I don't know when it was. I got to see the movie. I should see the movie before I say too much on it, I guess.
we had both discussed.
So if you want to criticize me for that, not seeing the movie and calling it crap already.
Previously, and that is that we have a habit of doing this. We've done it with many other countries. We did it with Iraq. We did it with Iran.
Exactly. So what's your point? What's your point here? What's your point?
We've done it with Honduras. We do it constantly. And what we do is we invade these countries, or we support our lackeys in their elections into power in these countries. And then after enormous damage has been done, during which time sometimes thousands, sometimes millions of people are killed by our...
Yeah, right. And how many people have gone to jail for that, Lila? Millions of people dead because of our government going into countries and taking resources. Millions of people dead. And who name one person that has gone to jail or faced any consequences for that in the government? But oh, wait, Donald Trump, he cheated people, workers out of their paychecks. He overpriced a condominium that he sold to a Russian oligarch. He's got to go to jail. We've got to prosecute him. We've got to send him to prison. Give me a break. Give me a freaking break here. That's what this narrative is. That's what they're telling us. That's what she's suggesting here. Yes, we know about all this stuff. We invade and kill and torture and rape and squander resources and yes, it's all, but if people just get your movie, maybe they'll understand it all, but it won't change.
Troops. And a lot of our troops are killed too, and it's a mess, disaster. After that happens, an administration comes in that's kind of a socialist administration. That's what's been happening with most wars. And we then impose sanctions. And we don't mention that.
Is that true? I don't know. Then socialist administrations in America? When did we have a socialist administration in America? What administration is she referring to when she says we have a socialist administration come in after a war?
Well, that was interesting. Now, in my introduction, we're very interested in the specifics.
Just the way she says it. That was very interesting. Like a elementary school teacher would say to a child that just showed her something that he made, right? And that's very interesting. And just a throwaway comment that says nothing, that tells us nothing and goes nowhere and means nothing.
About what's happening to Venezuela, but this is not the first time that we've seen the United States behave this way.
Right.
Now, I pointed out something that we had both discussed previously, and that is that we have a habit of doing this. We've done it with many other countries. We did it with Iraq. We did it with Iran. We've done it with Honduras. We do it constantly. And what we do is we invade these countries, or we support our lackeys.
So yeah, that's what we do. And then there's a whole host of people. It's a profit center. Greg put it best. Greg put it best at the Q&A in NoHo that in one of my previous videos I commented on. Greg, I missed it the first couple of times I listened. You got to listen to things. I have to listen to things again and again because I always hear new things. Greg says it. He admits what he does in that Q&A in 2016 in NoHo. The Q&A. He said that they've turned voter suppression into a profit center. And Ole Damigard Off of Jason Goodman's show, I heard him say once, even a broken clock is right twice a day, and this is Oleg Damagard's broken clock moment with me. He said they tell you what they're doing up front. That's one of their codes that they live by. They reveal their crimes, okay, and give you clues. I don't know. I don't know how true it is. I'm just saying. It seems to be the case that Greg Palast is admitting what he's doing, but he's just pointing his finger at the Republicans and the Democrats. In that Q&A, he says it. I should have the quote. I just don't have the technical. I don't have, he says they've turned voter suppression into a profit center. And that's, somebody asked me on Twitter, do I have any evidence, or what do I think the hidden agenda is? That's the agenda. Turning voter suppression, wars of aggression, wars for oil into profit centers for arms manufacturers, for contractors to rebuild after we've bombed everything down and burned everything down. All these people, it's a boom. It's an economic boondoggle for all kinds of industries and all kinds of people. And Greg is on the receiving end of that as well in the news department. He gets to go travel around the world, make these movies, show up at community fundraisers and speak and get people to donate money. But he's not a solutions man. He's a perpetuation agent, perception management and perpetuation agent. He's not interested in anything changing. He doesn't want anything to change because he would lose his paycheck. That's my theory.
In their elections into power in these countries. And then after enormous damage has been done, during which time sometimes thousands, sometimes millions of people are killed by our troops. And a lot of our troops are killed too, and it's a disaster.
So, look how casually she mentions it. Sometimes millions of people are killed. And our soldiers are killed. Notice how casually she's saying all this stuff. Which I believe is all true. But notice how casual she is in saying it.
After that happens, an administration comes in that's kind of a socialist administration. That's what.
What? Which administration was socialist in America? She's out of her mind. Could she be out of her freaking mind? Could that be a more nonsensical statement than? This is your news. This is the people that bring you information at kpfk.org. Here they are. These are the people at your neighborhood. These are the people at your local community radio station bringing you information. The very latest replay. KPFK powered by the replay. I'm tired of it, man.
What's been happening with most wars. And we then impose sanctions. And we don't mention that. And as a result, those progressive administrations fail as a result of our sanctions. And people forget.
It's strangulation, like they said in Venezuela today. The UN calls it a medieval siege.
It is a habit, the way the United States gains power in other countries. They impose sanctions. People don't understand. The word sanctions is much too mellow a word. Power in other countries. They impose sanctions. People don't understand. The word sanctions is much too mellow a word.
We don't understand. Your listeners don't. I understand perfectly. Greg Palast is a liar. He's a liar. I've proved it. Okay? That's what I understand, Lila. You don't understand that. You don't understand, Lila.
Sanctions stop people from eating. They stop people from living. And the United States forces its allies to impose sanctions as well. And the people of these countries don't realize what the sequence has been.
So how can we solve that? Oh, send in $100 to KPFK. That's her solution. That's going to be the solution. So buy my movie, buy my book, send in $100 to KPFK. Isn't it so horrible what we do? How much can you send in? It's profiteer. It's profitizing. What do you say? Turning the news into a profit center. Turning disaster into a profit center. Turning crimes into a profit center, turning the news into a profit center. Have I said that enough?
As a result, they vote the right wing back in again. And that's what
Well,
happens.
because I saw this in Nicaragua where there was strangulation of the Nicaraguan economy, and people just said, look, let's do whatever the U.S. wants. We'll vote for their candidate. They threw out the Sandinistas, and then they were still starving because the U.S. said, well, thank you. Reagan and Carter was happy to see the end of the Sandinistas, and then they voted them back in ultimately a few years.
Both of them just shooting off at the mouth about all this information, but I haven't heard one reference to a periodical, a newspaper, a radio station, a study, a report, except the UN. This is all based on Greg's knowledge of a UN, the UN report. Just one report. We're getting all this information. And how old is it? When was the last time Greg was in Venezuela? There's no details with Greg. We don't know. It's just two people shooting the crap here. I don't think they know. I don't think this isn't. I don't think this information is up to date.
Years later saying they never got the payoff from the U.S. They were still starving. Now, one thing, for example, in Venezuela, the U.S., when you talk about the U.S. allies, you have to understand their interest is the same, stealing the resource. Are you ready for this? The British government has joined in this medieval embargo of Venezuela, the right-wing British Tory government. Now, you have to understand, actually 1 year ago, the British government and British Petroleum asked Venezuela, and they didn't call them dictators then, asked them to give British Petroleum the former French concession for oil in Venezuela. The French had left Venezuela. They said, well, the British Petroleum said, give that oil field to us. And Maduro, the Venezuelan president, said, bug off, we're keeping that oil field for Venezuelans. And suddenly, money give them their gold. So the British government, because they would not turn over their oil to BP, said, well, we're joining the embargo, we're recognizing Guaido, who said he will let BP in. That's what's happening. And Canada, same game. Justin Trudeau, the criminal prime minister, is now facing possible criminal charges and impeachment because he was caught covering up bribery to Gaddafi in Libya for their oil money and oil resource.
Greg refers to Justin Trudeau as a criminal prime minister, but the charges haven't even been filed yet. So check that. He's calling him criminal already, but charges haven't even been filed yet. So he's guilty. In Greg's mind, Justin is guilty until proven innocent. That's a little shady.
And contracts. So Trudeau is up to his keister in oil bribery, and he's calling Maduro corrupt. This criminal briber is calling Maduro corrupt. And you know why? I'm going to tell you right now. I talked to oil company executives. You know what they said?
He talks to a lot of people, but he never gives us names, dates, places, times, contexts. I talk to a lot of oil executives. Oh, really? Well, which ones? Chevron? The same oil company executives that you expose in your movies? Did you talk to them? What did they say? What did they say, Greg? He talks to a lot of oil company executives, and then makes movies about how bad the oil companies are and what a big problem is. But he talks to a lot of oil executives. Well, when did you talk to him, and who did you talk to, Greg? No context with Greg. No context. No details.
The problem with Chavez and his buddies is you can't bribe.
He talked with, so now he's got the real inside deal because he talked to oil executives. Give me a break.
You can't bribe them, and they're not used to that.
Well, he's not the only one, who's calling Maduro corrupt. The Democratic Party is loaded with leaders who are doing exactly the same thing.
Yes.
And they're insisting that we do it.
I can't take any more of this. I just wanted to, play one more clip. I'm going to jump to the end of this and finish up here with a flourish.
License. What are we doing asking people to get an additional identity card? Doesn't that disturb you?
Well, it disturbs me because we don't have national identity cards, and therefore what happens is that only people with passports, which is a very light and white and rich minority, have an automatic acceptable card to prove their citizenship to vote, because we didn't have citizenship cards in the United States. This is a massively new racist tactic, which unfortunately the Democrats aren't actually standing up against as they should. Now, I was just in Georgia, where I literally was able to get a whole team of Silicon Valley computer experts to find out that 340,000 voters of color were wrongly removed from the voter rolls. That's one state. That's one state. So the racism that you talk about, it's not just a feeling. It's not just Trump's words. It's a policy operation by the GOP to take away democracy. And there's very few Democrats ready to stand in the way. Usually Democrats of color, like Stacey Abrams, Cummings, the chairman of the House Operations Committee, who's investigating vote suppression. Nancy Pelosi was required to put up a bill, H.R. 1, which would eliminate several of the Jim Crow tactics being used in this nation. But she only did it because she was told that she wouldn't have enough votes to become Speaker of the House unless she caved into the Congressional Black Caucus on this issue. She had to be told that you won't get the job unless you stand up against racism. Well, that's really heartening.
We can discuss what's happening in our country now for hours, and it's really fascinating, Greg Palast, especially with you, because you're so well informed and you're so passionate about it. But we only have an hour, and this is...
All right. Greg's he's so passionate and informed. He doesn't know who John Bolton is, Lila. He misidentifies John Bolton in this very interview, which you failed to catch. He called John Bolton the National Security Agency chief. He said and conflated the job of the two by saying he's in charge of foreign policy and intelligence. Okay, those are two separate jobs. John Bolton is a national security advisor. He works at the White House. The National Security Agency is a whole other department in a whole other building. Okay, Greg doesn't know that. He's not that informed. Lila.
Fun drug. And we do have a wonderful song that we want to introduce to our listeners. So very quickly, tell us again, why should our listeners spend $100 for our premiums and also to keep us on the air?
Here it comes. Here it comes, man. Here's Greg. This is Greg where Greg earns his money. Come on, he earns his keep, man. Tell us why people should send in their hard-earned money for your stale merchandise. Stale, like rotting, like it's like so old, it's like ready to be thrown out.
Really fascinating, Greg Palast, especially with you, because you're so well informed and you're so passionate about it. But we only have an hour, and this is fun.
No, he's not, Lila. See my videos.
And we do have a wonderful song that we want to introduce to our listeners. So very quickly, tell us again, why should our listeners spend $100 for our premiums and also to keep us on the air? That of course, is the main reason.
Here it comes. The main reason to keep us on the air. No, Lila, you should be off the air. Remove Lila Garrett immediately. I'm going to start the protest movement for that.
Okay. You can hear Greg Palast all over the world on BBC and CBC and Al Jazeera. I am on the nightly news. I'm mainstream. I'm primetime. In the United States, I have...
I'm primetime, baby. I'm primetime.
One place to go in the City of Angels, and that's KPFK. No one else will have me. Not National Petroleum Radio, not the Petroleum Broadcast System. You're going to only hear this information, the real story of Venezuela, the real story about the theft of the vote in Georgia, the real story about how Trump stole his election. You get this in one place only, KPFK. And if you don't think that that's worth $100...
He's lying, because he was just on Jimmy Dore show in Burbank, right down the street from KPFK. Jimmy lives in Burbank and does the show from his garage, he often remarks. And KPFK is in North Hollywood. What is it? It's like 15-minute bus ride? But he's lying here. He said KPFK is the only place that he comes in Southern California. Let me get that again. That's a lie. That's a bold-faced lie and a lie of omission. And as well, he's not revealing that his connection to Jimmy and his show.
Palast all over the world on BBC and CBC and Al Jazeera. I am on the nightly news. I'm mainstream. I'm primetime. In the United States, I have one place to go in the City of Angels, and that's KPFK. No one else will have me. Not National Petroleum Radio, not the Petroleum Broadcast System. You're going to only hear this information.
That's a lie. He was on Jimmy Dore show right down the street from KPFK in Burbank. Last week for a 90-minute interview in which he did not mention the station once. Not once, not once. That's a telltale sign. Somebody's hiding something. Okay? In this age of cross-promotion, you cross-promote. When you're selling stuff, you cross-promote everywhere you can, right? Right? Not Greg, not Jimmy Dore with KPFK on his YouTube show. Nope. Nothing, nada, zilch, nothing. But Jimmy's so passionate. He cares so deeply about the fierce independence of KPFK radio, but he won't mention it on his wildly popular YouTube show. This can't be believed. Both things can't be true. Does that make sense? But he was just... So he says he's mainstream. He also said he's mainstream. Well, then what are you doing on an independent progressive radio station? Why we don't want mainstream? Get out of here, dude. We're looking for progressives. We're looking for a progressive way out of this. We're looking for a progressive exit. But it's just a lie. He's lying. He says KPFK is the only place I come to in Southern California, or the City of Angels, Los Angeles. After he just recorded a 90-minute interview on Jimmy Dore's wildly popular YouTube channel with 500,000 subscribers that just surpassed Democracy Now! On YouTube for the number of subscribers. That's a media outlet, man. That's a media outlet. And KPFK is lucky to have 500 listeners at any given moment. So, and you didn't think you've been getting away with this for so long, Greg. You thought no one would be listening. You thought no one is going to be listening on this tenth of a percent market share radio station, KPFK in the City of Angels. No one's going to notice. No one's going to be able to put 2 and 2 together, come up with 4. Wrong.
You can hear Greg Palast all over the world on BBC and CBC and Al Jazeera. I am on the nightly news. I'm mainstream. I'm primetime. In the United States, I have one place to go in the City of Angels, and that's KPFK. No one else will have me. Not National Petroleum Radio, not the Petroleum Broadcast System. You're going to only hear this information, the real story of Venezuela, the real story about the theft of the vote in Georgia, the real story about how Trump stole his election. You get this in one place only, KPFK. And if you don't think that that's worth $100, then turn off the radio right now. Why are you listening, freeloader? I want you to call this number. I want you to pull over if you're driving, but pull over and you're going to call.
He's a clown. He's a clown. He's a news clown like Jason Goodman. He's a news hooligan like Jason Goodman. And what's this Trump stole the election angle? Trump stole the election? How did Trump steal the election? This is a new angle I'm just starting to... I just heard with Greg. Trump stole the election? He mentions that Trump shoplifted the election. The first interview with Jimmy Dore, he said Trump shoplifted the election, and now they're shoplifting the election in Venezuela. How did Trump shoplift the election? I don't get that. That's a new talking point that he's trying to bring up. Let's listen. This is the end. This is the grand finale.
818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735, and say, look, I want that Palast-Chavez pack because I want the assassination of Hugo Chavez. I want the best democracy money can buy. I want that information because I want Lila Garrett. I want KPFK, and I don't want the BS streaming through the radio that I get everywhere else or streaming through.
When's the last time you heard KPFK referenced as a reliable news source in any other media ever in your life? Let me know in the comments below.
The boob tube on MSDNC. I want the truth. Is the truth worth $100? Is keeping Lila on the air worth $100? And I'm going to tell you, everyone says, well, someone else will do it. KPFK has always been here. I just want to tell you a very important story. KCHU of Dallas.
We're running out of money, folks. It's really urgent. It's really urgent that you send in their $100 now. You want Lila, you like me, Lila, me, my movie. It's urgent. It's free speech. It's a democracy now. It's the Venezuelan. Our government is horrible, and millions of people are dying, and we need your $100. And it's all of a vortex of fraud. I'm starting to. That's the feeling I'm getting. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Was your Pacifica sister, and they said, if you don't donate, we're going off the air. Boom, there's silence. Good. I think that's what has to happen, Greg. I'm starting to think that this station is on freaking life support, and we got to pull the plug, buddy. With clowns like you, it's time to pull the plug. KCHU it's deteriorated to the point of nonsense, and fraud and lying on air. Okay, you're a liar, Greg. You're lying to the listeners, begging for money. You're a snake oil salesman. Blown away. It doesn't exist anymore. People really think that this is just going to happen by itself. No, right now as people move to
Bullshit never happens by itself, Greg. It takes somebody like you
the internet and start listening
to perpetuate it and manipulate it and disseminate it.
All the crap on the internet. What's happening is that we cannot hold listeners, and we need the funds so we can get more people involved in this amazing community.
KPFK has no listeners, you dumbass. It's a tenth of the listener. 2015 Guardian article, an outlet you claim to have worked for at one point. 2015 Guardian article by Rory Carroll showed that LA Weekly said that the listenership, the Nielsen rating listenership, was 0.1% for KPFK. That's 700 listeners during any 15-minute period for 5 minutes, compared to KCRW and KPCC, 8,000 and 20,000 listeners. 700 listeners in 2015, Greg. What listeners are you talking about? What?
Which keeps you informed, which keeps you alive, which protects you. Is this station worth $100 to you? I hope it is. This is Greg Palast. I'm on my hands and on my knees. Well, I'm not on my hands and knees. I'm sitting in a comfy chair.
Yeah, more bullshit, Greg. You're not. You're saying you're lying. You're saying stuff that's not true. You're on your knees. You're not on your knees. Okay. You're not. You're just. It's just bullshit. Constant.
I won't lie to you because Greg Palast will always tell you the truth. I'm sitting in a comfy chair, but I am.
No, you won't. No, no.
Please make your donation now. Get the Palast Chavez pack. This is amazing. This is a cheap deal. This is the Greg Palast Chavez Best Democracy pack. You get both DVDs by calling 818-985-5735. 818-985-KPFK. Greg Palast and out.
Greg Palast, it's worth it having a fund drive just to have you on.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh,
Thank you so much for joining us. It was fun and it was very informative, and it shows that we can't afford to be idle. And it also proves something that I think my listeners really know. And that is, if we are going to be free of corporate power and corporate insistence on a pro-corporate point of view, we have to support stations like KPFK. So thank you again for joining us. So we've been speaking with Greg.
Oh, there you have it, folks. Lila Garrett breaking it down. The problems in our society today with Greg Palast, a known liar. And I hope I proved that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Peace out.